631 people are missing, 63 declared dead as the California wildfires continue burning. Crews are working day in and day out trying to fight the blazes, still moving rapidly because of the wind and tearing through residential areas.
The Camp Fire is responsible for the majority of those deaths and has taken up most of the headlines. But another fire nearby is affecting thousands, including the family of a woman who moved to California from Knoxville. 10 News reporter Daniel Sexton spoke with them tonight.
The Woolsey fire has taken lives. It's damaged and destroyed hundreds of buildings. And an East Tennessee family who moved to California was caught right in the middle of it.
Neighbors took these photos as the Dahl family evacuated their California neighborhood with their 3 children and animals.
He got the kids and the dogs, and I did all the large animals.
I kind of grabbed him and said, hey guys, we're going to go on an adventure.
As they fled, the Woolsey fire destroyed more than 500 buildings and took 3 lives, including their neighbor. Many stayed behind to save what they could.
One of the neighbors was putting out spot fires by our home and saw a fire truck go by, waved it down. Apparently they pulled in as the fire was coming right up to the fence.
A crew from Fire Station 69 saved their home and left this note saying, "Hope you don't mind, but we used your bathroom."
I was like, oh man, of course we don't mind. You could have ate all the food.
Captain Tony Valdez, pictured on the left, wrote the note. A spokesperson for the station said they sat and guarded the home until the fire blew over. In that case, we absolutely would try to access the home to make it more defendable. Many of the Dahls' neighbors weren't as lucky, but with their paradise reduced to wreckage, they've built something new, a friendship founded in tragedy.
The whole neighborhood's just helped each other out, and it's been really beautiful to see.
We were already close as far as neighborhoods go nowadays, but it's just made it even more so.
The volunteer spirit shining coast to coast.
We still love Tennessee. I still play Rocky Top for the kids.
The Dahl family hopes to get back into their house sometime tonight to look around. But as far as living there goes, they say it's going to take more time, and they're just not sure how long. Back to you.
Well, this